Drop the ball down.
And set your watch and
I got it.
Go 1 hour.
Okay. No, I got a notification about this podcast starting that I'm attached to.
Sweet.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
That it told me that I was here.
I
It's
am
very
glad
important.
you could make it.
I thought he was tracking his calories.
It could be. Dude.
It's early.
Something
It's early for that.
Getting in his steps early in the day.
Starting off great.
Hey, anyway, it's. I think we're gonna have a trouble filling the hour. By the way, because everybody's so shy here. Everybody out there, welcome to This Pink Cloud, Season 2, Episode 43. Yay. I am DJ Kelly Reverb, or as I like to say, I'm Kelly Reverb, and I identify as a DJ. So, and with me today in studio, I've been wanting to have you on forever.
Yes.
But just scheduling
As
wouldn't
it
allow
is.
it, dude.
As
but
it is.
now it's come together, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's a good thing. It's a
All right,
happy
well,
thing.
sitting across from me is one Michael Tracy, and he identifies as a volunteer for the Phoenix. And also, you have your own podcast.
I do have my own podcast. It's called Stay Sober Stupid, where we
Stay Sober Stupid.
Stay Sober Stupid. It's called Stay Sober Stupid. You can find it on Spotify.
Okay.
We, meaning not just me, but me and my friend Mike and Daniel, we all kind of do a deep dive.
Skate Straight crew.
It's kind of the Skate Straight crew. We all
little bit.
I met them through different parts. We are all part of the Skate Straight family.
Yes,
but
I included.
Yeah, you are included. Yeah, when I see you.
Well, hey man,
When you show up.
I actually work a full-time job in recovery, so thank you very much, and that is why
brag.
I cannot show up to all the meetings.
Shots
That's a brag.
fired early.
There you go.
Shots
I
fired
know,
early.
exactly. And then sitting to his, I had to do the math right. Yeah, to his right, my left, that is Matt Sinclair, and he is the program manager for Fort Worth, Tarrant County, all that good stuff.
Definitely.
And he is a fill-in, and I have to fire a shot at Steven Vega.
I knew
Steven
Steve
Vega.
Steve?
Steven Vega is a slippery individual, dude. He always he always never wants to be in the spotlight, so I am purposely throwing some shade his way.
Man behind the curtain.
Because he always wants to just be the Wizard of Oz. He's like, oh, let me send, because he thinks nobody wants to hear him talk. And I'm like, dude,
Which is weird.
yeah. But but I do appreciate you coming in, and you have you're an authority figure in the Phoenix.
Somewhat.
Somewhat. So if these people, well, real quick, before we get to that, let me get to my sponsor real quick, which is summersky.us. That is 888-857-8857, and that is summersky.us. 888-857-8857. They are a lovely facility out in Stephenville, Texas. I got sober there, and like I say, man, if I can get sober, you can do it. So, if you want it.
Yeah.
If you want it. Yeah. But, so, you guys are from the Phoenix, and if anybody's asking what the Phoenix is, I always go, well, it's a sober, active community, and it's not 12-step based, and it's not any program based. But, I mean, if you can describe it better, please do so.
Definitely. So what I always say is sober active community is a really fancy way of saying we do all sorts of fun events and activities for people either in recovery or looking to live a sober lifestyle, right?
Okay.
We do everything in the community from tennis, which this
what I
wonderful
do.
person to my left helps to facilitate, to indoor climbing, to kayaking, paddleboarding, fitness, yoga, meditation, with the idea that people can come out and connect through these really awesome activities and events. And I am the father of 4, and when I hear about cool things, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how much does it cost?
Right.
Phoenix is completely free with 48 hours of sobriety, so people can
I
come
love
out.
that. I love that. So all you really need is, this is a great place to come. And I always say, if you're sober curious, You know, or even if you don't have a problem, do you have to be in recovery to go to an event?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
We have a ton of people that come out that are supporters of people in recovery, in the recovery industry, or just want to hang out without drugs or alcohol being involved.
Right.
So it really is an open community for everybody, with the only price to get in just 48 hours of sobriety.
And just a minimum call, Matt. You have to say the one requirement if you want to go to a Phoenix event. You just have to have 48 hours of sobriety. Yep. That's it.
That's it.
Even if it's a partner, even if you're like, I'm in recovery, but my partner is it, but she doesn't do drugs or he doesn't do drugs, they're welcome. Yes. I have a lot of folks like that come to my event.
Yep.
Right. You do not have to, but we are all sitting here. I'm proud to say that I was addicted to alcohol. So, and I think we all are here, right?
Yeah, partially.
So, well, I mean, the thing is I've always wanted to have you on because you present very well at the Skate Straight meetings.
I try.
And you know, I just figured we would, before we talk about the cool app and all the good stuff that Phoenix does, let's get to know our guest first. So, Michael, I know you've got a heck of a backstory, so why don't you fill us in?
So, you know, for the people that I tell frequently and all the time, I'm from the Panhandle of Texas. I'm from Amarillo, Texas, born and raised there for a long period of time.
That's on the way to Colorado.
It is. That's what it should be called and referred to as.
And it smells really nice when you drive through it.
I would have old people, they would tell me the joking time. And for the people that know what it smells like, it's a slaughter adjacent town. It's not a slaughter town itself, slaughter adjacent, but the wind blows.
Right.
And on the right day, you just get a good old whiff of cow patties and pies. So they would say, smells like money. I'm like, no, that's cow shit.
It smells like ass.
That's cow shit.
Smells like cows.
And like, it was a weird pleasure. So I lived there probably till I was about 22, 21, and then I lived in Austin for 6 years.
Now, how old of a fella are you?
I'm 33.
Okay.
I'll be 33.
All right, nice.
Or 34 this upcoming year, which is weird. But anyway, so my recovery journey really started earlier this year. I had been smoking weed when I was younger.
Taking the pot,
smoking pan, as the kids like to say in the streets. And as I got older, I had incident after incident transpire with me. I had a serious girlfriend that left me, and then that just pushed me into doing cocaine. And then I had a whole friend group fall apart, and then that pushed me really into alcohol and that combination of smoking weed, doing alcohol. So then I moved to Austin, and for the people that have been to Austin, they know this.
Right?
It's a place, obviously, to go and just not do drugs.
Sure.
So I was experimenting. I was doing all kinds of drugs. And then during that time, I got really involved in actually selling drugs. And so for a lot of people that are recovering addicts, I think we don't actually talk about this enough, where there were people that weren't just users, but they were abusers to others. And that we sold drugs and did stuff. And I did that for 10 years.
Really?
Even when I moved back to Amarillo, I was still doing it. Yeah. And earlier this past year, I'd say mid-July, I got caught with a pound of weed.
Okay.
A couple of hits of wax, a couple of grams, and then several hits of acid.
Okay.
And a gun.
Oh,
perfect. So I was snitched on, as the kids say in the streets. And I freaked out. No one in my family really knew the depths of my addiction, other than I smoked a lot of weed. But
you were a successful businessman to a lot of people.
Yeah. Right. So I really, it encompasses so much of your life, because it's not just in some instances for people like me, the addiction aspect, but it's also the effect that you have in the culture, because that was my identity. I walked around that town thinking I was this big man on campus. I wasn't.
Right. You were a weed dealer.
I thought that.
Right.
And I felt like, oh, this is me. I'm this hard kind of kid. Because I was a skinny kid a lot of my life. I don't know about Matt. He doesn't seem like he's a skinny kid all his life. But I was. And so that was a big ego thing for me.
Sure.
Early in January, or in December, I had moved out here. Classic Hallmark story. I thought I was in love with a girl who was not in love with me, and I moved out here thinking, I'll move closer. That makes sense. It does not. For the listeners at home, don't do that.
I will stalk her from close range.
Right.
It's like a bad idea, like a tattoo.
Exactly.
Right?
It was like a Tasmanian devil tattoo with the side hat and the Jordan jersey. And I tried after about a week into January to get sober on my own. I realized even then that like I had a serious problem. I was still doing. I was driving to Fort Worth to buy $100 worth of cocaine. I mean, just in the middle of the night. Like, I'm not from this city. Like, that's sketchy as hell.
Right.
One night, I'd for a week, I'd gotten clean on my own. I've been going to like a CA meeting, thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna try this. And the girl that I had been interested in basically was not returning my calls. I knew something was up, and in my heart, I knew I'm like, I'm not the only one. Again, not a problem. That was my fault.
Right.
So I go to the liquor store. I buy a whole handle of Fireball.
Okay.
I had about an eighth of weed and then a couple grams of cocaine. I blew all of my money because
Yeah.
my intention was like, I just don't want to feel anymore. Like
Right.
all of us.
Yeah.
So I end up doing a whole bunch of the cocaine. I'm not even sure how much. Drinking half of that handle Fireball.
Yeah.
And I was 150 pounds at that time, so I was tiny. I find myself at a certain point, from the clarity that I do have of that evening, standing on an overpass.
Okay.
And my intent was to wait for a semi-truck to come by. I'd watched something on like 1,000 Ways to Die, and like some guy fell off a bridge they were working on. He hit by a semi, died instantly. And that just stuck with me for whatever reason.
You thought that, hey, the experiment, if I can fly,
Right.
would be a good scenario.
I had R. Kelly playing on my phone. That was just like a whole thing. So it's raining. I'm in my scrubs at the time. I'm all in black, and I'm just standing there waiting just for that moment. And, when you're in that frame of mind, it's really difficult. And this is what I'm so interested in with people that have suicidal ideation. It's like some of us are willing to pull that trigger, whatever that proverbial trigger is. Some of us aren't. And those moments before, I'm literally there, and I just have this wave of like, just let go. Just let go. And as I'm sitting, I'm just kind of standing there. I just start kind of wobbling back and forth because I'm wasted. This car drives by, and this woman shouts from her window. Granted, it's raining heavy, so like to even hear, I was surprised that I even heard her. And she said, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
Wow.
And then I pass out, or something happens, and then I wake up. I'm on the side of the curb by the overpass. This is like in Irving, over off Northeast Drive. And she's there. It's this little old abuela.
Oh,
She's
nice.
shaking me awake. She's like, we called an ambulance. It's going to be okay. We called an ambulance. And
Right.
I freak out. Like the cocaine, I guess, hit me again. And I'm like, I run to my apartment, and I call, for whatever reason, I call a suicide hotline.
Okay.
Guys, if you have somebody that is struggling with suicide, call the hotline. You can go to samsa.com and they'll find
I've got a question for you. Did you actually besides having that seed planted of 1,000 Ways to Die?
Yeah.
Was there a build up to it? Was it like, oh well, I need to start seriously thinking about suicide? or was there or was it just
serious about suicide?
Or was it just a spur of the moment?
So I've struggled with suicidal ideation a lot in my life.
Okay.
And for that particular moment, it was kind of a cumulative thing. My parents found out that part of the other reason I left and I moved to Dallas is that I was on the fucking run from the laws.
Yeah.
So they didn't find out. The cops went to my grandmother's house looking for me, which is not a good thing. It does not feel good.
Sure. Your mailing address is your grandmother's. Yeah.
So it's not a good point.
Right.
And I'm, at this point where I felt like at the end of my rope. I'm about to be in jail for years. The girl that I thought that I loved does not love me. I left all my friends. I'm in an apartment with an inflatable air mattress. That's it. And I don't want to do this anymore. Like that.
Yeah.
You come to this point, and again, I know that there are people out there that had significantly worse lives than me, that have had significantly worse trauma than I've had. But when it's you, none of that matters.
Yeah.
That's where, unfortunately, a lot of people who don't understand suicide, it affects their understanding because they think it is a selfish act.
Sure.
And in some capacity, I understand where they're coming from, because they're like, you're doing this to me. And I'm like, but that in itself is selfish as well.
Right.
Because you are in ownership of your own life. You're in ownership of your actions. You're in ownership of your words. You're not in ownership of your feelings.
Okay.
Ever. You can try to control them. You can try to change them. And that's doable. Meditation, talking to people, that's doable. But when emotion hits you so heavy, sometimes it is so impulsive.
Well, also add the fact that you're massively addicted to cocaine and
Yes, that is
alcohol,
correct.
and throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
And then,
It just falls apart.
Yeah.
So I drive myself to the hospital.
Okay, good idea.
Yeah, great, exactly.
Right.
So I drive, and I walk in, and I'm in like wet scrubs, and I'm just powder on my nose and just like caked on from the rain because it's just been sitting on my face. And I walk up to the front, and I'm like, "Hey, I called the suicide hotline, and I tried to kill myself." Oh, fun fact: I had these scrapes on my elbows and my back. So at some point, I must have slipped and
Okay.
hit the side rail, because that's the only injury that I sustained from this.
Wow.
So I go in, they check me in. I don't remember much. I just remember waking up. I'm zip tied to the bed. All of the doors and things are zip tied. And a woman comes in. She's like, "Hey, how you doing, baby? You doing all right? You doing good?" And I'm like, no, I'm not doing
I'm
good.
zip tied to the bed.
I'm zip tied to a bed. So they took me, the girl that I cared about, she came up to the hospital. She talked to me. It was like this whole event. And they took me to Homeward Bound.
Ah, okay.
Which is where I saw Kurt. I didn't actually talk to him, but I...
Right. Well, Homeward Bound, for everybody that, go ahead and tell them what Homeward Bound is. I always like to spell it out.
So Homeward Bound is, from my understanding, is a facility for people who do not have access to mental health care that they can go to. And I'm not sure if it's...
Well, mental health care and addiction.
And addiction,
yeah.
I was in the suicidal ideation ward. So for them, they were like, yeah, you did a lot of drugs, but you tried to hurt yourself. So we're putting you in here. I was there for almost 2 weeks because there was a COVID outbreak. And this is early on the COVID stuff. So they were like, yeah, you can't leave. And I'm like, I want to leave. Like, you can't.
Right.
You can't leave. And I'm like, damn it.
That's why they had the zip ties. Right?
That's why they had the zip ties there. So, for 2 weeks, I'm in this facility. Everyone there was really nice. My mom picks me up. She takes me to rehab. I was there for about 2 months.
Okay.
Once I got out, this is where I get connected to the Phoenix. So we'll tie this in from my rant.
Sure.
So they would come out and do outreach at Discovery Point Recovery. Shout out Discovery Point Recovery.
Okay.
And
which is where I always like to know
they
which
have
little
two facilities.
town.
So they have one in Ennis. And they have one in Waxahachie.
Okay. Cool.
And then they also have a central IOP, which is intensive outpatient for people that know the lingo, here in Dallas.
Okay.
So I'm there 2.5 months. I get clean. I get out and do a sober living facility. And this is where I think it starts for a lot of people. So if you're new in recovery, this is where it started for me doing the Phoenix. I like going to meetings. I like talking with maybe a sponsor or a mentor. Those are necessary.
Sure.
What I feel like we miss a lot is the mental physical health aspect, where it's literally a reflexology kind of situation, where it's, meditation is a very big component for people that do mental health training, if you want to do that, or CBT. But physical health, for a lot of us, especially in our addiction, immediately goes to the wayside.
Oh, yeah.
There's some that, like, I worked out a lot pre-pandemic and I was still smoking weed and doing drugs, but, like, I had nothing physical in my life going on.
Right. You're not shooting heroin and doing a marathon.
No, you're not.
Right.
If you did, that would be impressive. Or you'd be
that would be amazing.
A lot of people sleeping on the guardrails, just waking up and then falling asleep and then waking up.
That marathon would take like 3 months.
Yeah, it's day 28. Yeah. So I remembered the Phoenix. There was a poster in my IOP class, and it's like, hey, let's sign up for a class. So first time I met Aaron Wacky Wack, shout out Ewack.
Ewack.
We went on a hike, and it was a bunch of DPR friends and people that we knew, and that it was really fun. And she had told me, she's like, hey, have you ever done climbing before? And I'm like, yeah, but long time ago. I did in Austin, just kind of dinking around with friends.
Sure.
So I go to this climbing gym. It's a beautiful climbing gym, Summit Climbing Gym up in the Plano area. And that moment in my recovery, it changed a lot for me, because I know, and I remember still being early in my recovery, having all this energy to do the classes, talk to people, do the recovery stuff. I had just started working on the podcast idea, but I needed the social aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some sports more social than others.
Right.
Part of why I think tennis is so popular.
Yeah.
It's because people can kind of stand around and wait to hit the ball.
Right.
But going to that climbing gym, after I got done, obviously every muscle in my body hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you've never been climbing before, you work muscles you never thought you had. But that was that breaching point for me, where I was like, this is a great organization. This is an amazing organization. I didn't pay. Most climbing gyms, if you go, you're going to pay $20 a session. Memberships start at anywhere from $80 to $120.
Right.
So to be able to go weekly to this climbing gym,
it gave you something to look forward to. Yeah.
every week, I knew what I was doing on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
And it was like a nice little treat for me. And the other thing, that when I started getting involved, becoming a volunteer, I had started subbing at other events.
Mm-hmm.
I started meeting more people, and that is so important early in recovery.
Well, and I always preach this, if you will, or sing the praises of this, is community in recovery. I mean, you know, and I think that's a huge reason why the 12 steps are so successful, because it's a community of people, of like-minded people that are getting together and navigating sobriety together. So, I mean, I think, you know, but this is an alternate to that, and it's not, because I mean, the whole meeting thing freaks a lot of people out.
It's
and they're very like, oh, is there a secret knock, secret handshake, you know, all
Do
this
I have
kind of
to
stuff.
share?
Yeah. And some of that, you know, that turns people off.
Yeah.
And some people don't like to share and just want to be around other like-minded people and do sober stuff or do like something physical. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's great what they offer. I don't know if that was the end of your story or close to it.
No, I don't want to take up all of Matt's time.
Right. No.
I could, Matt.
You
Right.
could.
No, I that was pretty much it. But yeah, again, my big ending to this is, if you are early on in recovery, if you are feeling, you know, any downward level depressed, definitely talk to somebody. I don't care who that is. Find somebody to talk to. If you don't know how to find somebody, ask somebody. And I know that's a hard thing, because there's shame, there's guilt, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But going to these events, you can walk in, you don't have to say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict. You can just say, I'm in recovery.
Or you can just say your name.
You can just say your name. Yeah. There is the biggest thing about Phoenix that I've loved is that there was not a particular brand of step program, as they were called. We accept all versions, which is great, because there are some people that may be turned off by one or the other, and that's okay.
Right.
So it makes it easy to just say, you know what, we're here to accept.
Y'all support, and it's really not even about supporting, because y'all have nothing to do with any programs in specific other than just being active in sobriety.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the crux of it. Yeah. Right. Well, so I don't want. Yeah. Like.
Go ahead, Matt. It's your turn.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Matt, we're gonna tap you in. Real quick, I just want to go ahead and throw out the website in case you guys want to look at it. It's thephoenix.org. And they're actually, and I wanted to touch on this, y'all are a nationwide organization that started in Colorado, correct? Yes. Okay, so give us a little history, and then give us a little bit of your story.
Sure. So Phoenix actually started out of our CEO and founder's garage
in Colorado.
In Colorado.
Okay.
So was there trying to get sober, doing the thing that a lot of us do, where it's like, we're going to move somewhere and it's going to be great and our problems are going to be left behind. Right. This is an actual success story around that.
Right.
So found some other like-minded individuals and really came to understand that this combination of activity, with community, help them stay sober.
Right.
And so from these really humble beginnings, we've now spread throughout the United States, LA to New York City, and a lot of places in between.
And the most important spot, Texas.
Agreed.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Agreed.
And actually, a great point on that. We've actually just opened up chapters in Houston and Austin as well.
That's great.
So we're growing even within the state.
Well, I know you're out there working that West Texas side of things, or that West Fort Worth side of things, or that west of Dallas, west of where I live, west of my existence. But yeah, no. So you're out there because actually you were trying to get in touch with Summer Sky out there to bring the program out there, and I like how y'all actually, it's almost like an H&I. But it's like your own version of an H&I, which that H&I stands for hospitals and institutions, just in case they don't know. But I love it that y'all are bringing it to the front lines and stuff. Right. So that's great. But yeah, let's hear a little bit of your backstory and how you got involved with, and then just be sure and talk right in here.
I will talk right into the mic.
Right in.
I am a rocker. I
Yeah.
am a rocker. I grew up with a grandpa with a rocking chair, and so did a lot of rocking back in the day. So I am born and raised in the sketchy place Michael alluded to earlier, where he came to purchase his drugs, right?
Okay.
Grew up and really kind of started on the substance use path really early.
Okay.
Right? Without divulging my age, I'm in my lower-ish 40s.
Okay.
But started at 13 and had a couple of decades under my belt before I stopped. And with that, like, it's different for everybody, but I think for me, from the first time at 13 that I used, I knew I had a problem. You know, it was one of those things, you're at your buddy's house and their parents leave, and so you're using whatever you can find in there to get intoxicated, right? And it was one of those things to where everybody was already asleep, and I'm searching for additional things. Like where they stashed the mouthwash at, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
was it that level?
It was at that level in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
And so there was never a point in my life or in my substance use history that I didn't know I had a problem.
Right.
The issue was, and I think this happens to a lot of us, there's not a lot of reinforcement around asking for help. There wasn't, and I have wonderful parents, wonderful family, but as a guy, you didn't ask for help.
Nope.
You dealt with things on your own. My community reinforced that to where if you asked for help, like, you were weak. And I think just growing up with that and trying to figure out, you know, as my substance use escalated, began hard drugs when I was 15, and still just it escalated, knew I had a problem, but never knew how to reach out and ask for help.
Sure.
Right? Whether that was the social issue or just navigating, you know, as a teenager, where do I go, right? And so it escalated. I went down kind of the similar path that Michael alluded to and got involved in the lifestyle aspect of it. You know, similar DOC, it was cocaine, it was alcohol. And I think with those things in particular, there's a lifestyle you get caught up in. To where when you start figuring out, like, hey, I don't necessarily like the way this stuff is making me feel, there's an attempt to have to try to not just divorce the substances, but to actually divorce the lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle that you've gradually become...
Correct. Just
you know,
addicted to the same, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that for me, it was the combination of those two things that really made it hard for me to start to separate. And it got me into a lot of really bad places, mentally, legally, family-wise, you name it, kind of went down the path of catching these really hard lumps. And, you know, it's one of those kind of things where it's like, man, you have something really, really bad happen, right? It's like, I'm never going to do this again. And within a month, you're, like, back to the same old thing, right? Never was able to seek treatment. Never tried to find any programs unless they were mandated by some court
court-ordered
department, right?
Can you sign this for me?
I'm going to come walk in like an hour into it and you sign this for me, or I'm going to forge it.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
of course.
Like, hey, can you sign this for me so it doesn't look like my handwriting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So fast forward through kind of those bad years, right? Interesting thing, when I was growing up, when I was 18, I had two best friends, right, that I had grown up with, and one was murdered in a drug deal.
Okay.
And then I had one that murdered somebody else, right? So
Okay.
one's gone, one's going
Right.
to prison. And when I looked at that, I was like, man, you know, what did they not have in their life that I did, right? And, you know, I had a really strong father figure, and they didn't. And that led me to really want to work with young people.
Okay.
And so in my mid-20s, I kind of found that as a career path and worked in nonprofits. I worked with, you know, youth who were involved in gangs or youth who had been removed from homes because of abuse and all these things. And it was kind of my deal, right? All the time trying to start hiding this substance use issue that I have. So going in and saying, hey, don't do this. And then I get off work and I go do this. Right?
Yeah.
So that really helped to create this double life image. To where I had to protect this secret with everything that I had.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But that gets kind of difficult, you know, when you're calling in every Monday because you've been on a weekend-long binge and you can't get up and do anything. That gets difficult. And so, you know, fast forward in my late 20s, get married to a wonderful woman. I am a prodigious procreator. So had lots of children, like in succession. So I have 4 kids.
Okay.
And so that
I thought you were going to say that.
I had to think about what prodigious meant.
I thought
maybe
we were
relatively prodigious.
I was going to
right?
say, is it like Michael Irvin's family, like 18 siblings?
No,
right, 19 and counting.
Not that.
Right.
Not that. I think my wife would have left long before that if I had continued down that road. So.
Her uterus would have tapped out.
Well, and I figure once you have to purchase a minivan, that you should stop, right? You fill up the minivan.
I got that, yeah.
You know, and so that was a big moment in my life.
Or even a Dodge Astro,
I'm
dude. Like,
anything that doesn't look cool because it is more functional is when you got to stop,
right?
So get married, start having kids, and so that lifestyle piece starts to change, right? Like I can't go and disappear for 3 or 4 days and go on these things. So at that point, my use started to shift much more towards alcohol.
Okay.
Because it was more socially acceptable.
Of course.
Like I could go out and, you know, get drunk and nobody really cared, right?
Sure.
Like everybody does it, right? That was the whole mindset.
Nobody cared that you were tailgating 5 hours before.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was
5 hours before the tailgate party.
And that was the thing. I think you are able to kind of facilitate that in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
Than you can utilizing different drugs and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so as that started to happen, I you know, escalated my alcohol use because once again, it was something that I could cover up a little bit better. But I always still knew it was a problem, right? Because it was one of those things that, you know, you go out and you go to a barbecue or you go to a bar or whatever. And
it's expected.
It was expected, but then I knew there was an issue when I would come home and have my stash. You know, where my garage looks like somebody's wet bar.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to start hiding it because it had escalated so much.
The old bottle shuffle, dude.
Right.
I know it well.
I put that one in the attic.
That's right.
To the left of the vent.
And the worst problem is when you forget where you stashed it, right?
Well,
and
that's why you have multiple stashes. And no, but I would do that, but then I would also have to worry about where I put the empty bottles because I'm mindful and I like to recycle. So
obviously,
and I couldn't just put them in my recycle bin.
Right.
I had to put them in my trunk and then maybe go down the alleyway and distribute them to my neighbors' recycle bins.
That's right. Or find the big green dumpster.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
course.
find that behind the store.
Yeah.
So I got to that point to where that was kind of the lifestyle I was living then. You know, and the problem is that you can only live 2 lives for so long, right? Like at some point, rubber's going to hit the road, things are going to happen, it's going to get blown up, and everybody's going to know, right? And so I had been able to kind of get myself into a position with the organization that I had been with for a long time to where, you know, I had a higher level position, was making good money, like was in school, like on the outside, everything was absolutely perfect, right? On the inside, I was so absolutely miserable that I didn't know each day if I was going to be able to make it through it, right? And so, of course,
and you're over here silently struggling with that, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
because I couldn't ask for help because I wasn't weak.
Well, that, and then also you got to worry about your career.
Correct.
Yeah, and your kids.
And that's the thing is, like, I never. Once again, I always knew, right? At that point, the people around me that loved me and cared about me, and they knew, you know.
Yeah. They always know.
They always know,
yep.
right? I mean, you know, when you have to go pick somebody up passed out behind a bar at 2:30 in the morning with a van full of kids, right? That can be
they start
an
catching
indicator,
up.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
they start catching
up. Starts flipping those switches, right?
Right.
And so, you know, this kind of lasted for a while, and once again, it was kind of that repetitive thing. Something really bad would happen. I'm never going to touch it again. You know, please don't leave. Please don't take my kids. Please don't do all these things, right? And, you know, a period of time would go by. I had learned how to calculate how long it would take before I could get the green light to start again. Right?
Okay. So you had your sobriety period where if I could just white knuckle it through
a month,
through a month,
about a month to 6 weeks.
Then I'm okay. Then I can come back and I can socially
circle back.
I can socially drink. Yeah.
And I think the thing is that when you are, you know, so caught up in your substance use, right? You get to be a really good manipulator.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I knew because, you know, and my wife, and I love her so much, but she didn't have experience with this.
Yeah.
And I knew how to manipulate it, right? Because she just wanted me to be normal. Why can't you just do this normally, right? And, you know, I would always try to bring it back. And once we, you know, we had this whole cycle thing going on. And the cycle ended. I ended up getting myself in a fairly significant legal jam.
Okay.
With that legal jam came voiding the career. You know, having to step away from that. Coming home to a house that had nobody in it. You know, it was one of those things that it was at the point that it was probably better for my wife and kids to be gone. And I agreed with that, right?
Right.
And I think one of the things that, you know, has been such a blessing to me is that it didn't go all the way through.
Sure.
I had one more opportunity. And, you know, I think when you get yourself in a legal jam, you have other people sort of reinforcing that you shouldn't be using, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm having to go and pee in a cup regularly, like, kind of got to stay away from
right,
things,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If someone wants to examine your urine weekly, then there might be, you might want to get honest with yourself and admit that your life might be a little unmanageable.
That's right. You know, if you're having to go and have somebody watch you pee in a cup, like it's time to kind of reevaluate things. But I didn't want to, right? So I was stuck in this really shitty place to where, you know, I couldn't use, and that was my only coping mechanism for all this stuff that was going on. But I couldn't move forward in terms of being able to be okay mentally.
Yeah.
And so I found myself quite frequently in a place Michael really talked about like, how do you move forward? Like, you're just stuck in this, like, substance use limbo. And it was extremely hard because I was having to, you know, go through, like, these feelings of guilt, these feelings of, like, okay, I just threw my career away. I don't have any income coming in. I have 5 people depending on me to put a roof over their head, to feed them, to do all these things. My kids don't understand why I don't have a job, and I'm going to drop them off at school because I don't have anything else to do because I'm unemployed. And so, like, there's all these things going on, and my one coping mechanism is not there anymore. Right? And so I always tell people I felt like my ability to deal with things was stunted like a 13-year-old because that's when I started.
Right. Well, we always talk about a little arrested development because,
So it's like, you know, now if you go outside and you punch a hole in the garage wall, you're like, what the hell? That's my wall. Like, I have to fix that, right? You know, now I got to learn how to be a drywall expert. You know, so I found myself in this place, and I think this is where the Phoenix came into my life and pulled me out of a place that was really dark. You know, I found the Phoenix online, and, you know, I tell people this all the time. I had signed up to go to a run walk at a nature preserve in Plano. Okay, I live in Southwest Fort Worth, and the run walk was at 6 p.m. On a Tuesday evening.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So I signed up for it. I'm like, I got to do something. Like, I just don't know anything else. So I jump in my car. You know, I drive an hour and 40 minutes to Plano. And I get there, and I'm like, I ain't doing it. I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't want to go run around in nature. There's like wasps and shit out there that might sting me.
And I don't know anybody.
And I don't know anybody. And it was one of those things, I think, too, that, you know, when you're really new in recovery, like that vulnerability and that even looking to trust somebody.
You're the new kid. You're the new kid at school.
Who do you talk to?
The thing is like, I had always hid this. So how am I going to go and like connect with people around recovery when this was my deep, dark secret? Right. So, you know, I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I gotten there a little early. Once again, I'm unemployed, so I can leave as early as I want, right? So I get there, I'm in the parking lot, and I'm like, I'm not going. And I pull my phone up, and I pull up Google Maps because I'm old and not cool enough to use Waze. So I pull up Google Maps, right?
Wait, Waze is still
I guess so.
I pulled up. I pulled up MapQuest.
Wait,
I had a Maps.go, and I just printed out the map and highlighted my route. Right,
MapQuest.
I've actually done that in the past, so if that lets you know the decade that I was born.
No shame.
So I sit in this parking lot, and I'm like, I'm not going, and I pull up my phone and put my home address in there, and you know. It was going to take me, there was a wreck on 121, and it was going to take me 2 hours and 20 minutes to get home. It was all red. All red. And I said, well, hell, like, why would I not go? Why would I just go sit in traffic? And so I get out of my car, and I walk up to this group of people who I didn't know, and within 5 minutes, I had felt a connection to a group that I had never been able to feel before.
Right.
And it was so, I think, enlightening because I had always tried to approach, like, getting sober alone, like, by myself.
Sure.
Like, I'm just going to be able to power my way through this. And on that day, I learned that I didn't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And as things developed, there was an interest in building Phoenix out in Fort Worth because of my kind of past with nonprofit work and just being from Fort Worth, knowing the community. You know, they asked me to come on, and it's been an incredible journey ever since. I can honestly say it has been so awesome to be able to bring this program to where I grew up. And to where I know there's such a great need.
Well, and I love the thing about the Phoenix is that, you know, it gives you something else to focus on besides what you're trying to quit, you know? For sure. So I wanted to talk about, because I know you do a tennis course.
I do indeed.
Where is that, and what day can they come see you in person?
So the tennis group starts on, we haven't changed it in a long time, but it's going to be on Sundays at 7 p.m. at LB Houston Tennis Center. It's kind of in Irving. If you look up LB Houston Tennis Center, it'll show you where it is. We got a big group of folks. I love those guys so much. The Phoenix graciously provides rackets. LB Houston provides tennis balls.
Right. And even on like I was going to say, I don't want to cut off your tennis speech, but then there's also kayaking, rock climbing, bike riding, and y'all actually facilitate all the equipment for the people. You know, if you schedule in time and there are enough kayaks to go around.
Well,
but I mean,
one of the wonderful things I think about the Phoenix too is that so many partners that we have in the community buy into our mission and buy into what we do. So if you're thinking about like an indoor climbing, Phoenix doesn't own an indoor climbing gym, right? We can only go and do that through a partnership with somebody else. And the awesome thing here in DFW is there's so many people that believe in the work that we're doing and believe in the value of helping people in recovery, that they open their doors wide open and say, hey, come in. We'll give you space, we'll give you equipment, we'll give you coaches, we'll give you all these things so that people can come in and enjoy this really diverse array of activities.
Yeah, right. And go ahead and give me a list of all the activities that y'all can think of. Just go ahead and give it, because y'all do like, I mean, isn't there like a painting
Yeah.
and puzzle night? I mean, there's like non-aggressive. It's not just rock climbing and kayaking.
Right, right.
Give me a little bit of a list.
I don't know if are we still doing the music group?
Do the music.
We're doing the music group on Thursdays. I would like to. I have so much now that I've been in recovery.
Now, when you
so
say
long,
music group, what is that?
So from what I've seen, it's almost like karaoke. Like they have people that
jam
come.
session.
Yeah, it's like a jam session. So there's people, bring your instrument, bring your voice, and they just have a musical experience. I would guess.
Okay.
They have obviously the rock climb that we talked about, the kayaking. I don't know how frequently it is, but there's basketball on Monday nights. There's biking, or weather is very big factor, but there's biking. There's running. There's a lot of like what I see probably the most of it is physical training. Just stuff where you can go to a gym and it's like HIIT or it's like something 45. I don't know what that is, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else there is. I know that we do like on Saturday. So this Saturday, there's going to be an event, and it's just a fun event. It's 3 hours. It's at it's like at the Rose Memorial Center.
I am going there.
Yeah, Kelly's
the
going.
Dallas Ross meeting.
The Ross community. So it's just a fun event. So that's what I love about the Phoenix probably more than anything is, like we both talked about, it's a place for you to meet people in recovery,
right?
Where there's not this expectation,
and it's not always aggressive, and it's not always like extreme sports or anything. That's what I want to point out. I mean, I'm talking to Steve about doing a basket weaving class.
There you go.
Are you going to facilitate that?
You know that.
All right.
You know that. I have got the skills.
That's going to blow up.
I am going to show everyone how to make a God's eye. With the yarn and the popsicle sticks, dude. I'll get in there.
That's awesome.
I'll get in there. Hey, well, so speaking of like activities and all that stuff, there's an app, right?
Yes.
There is an app now. And Brett, if you can pull that up, but we're gonna play this. This is a little video I found of the new app, and instead of us just going,
here's an app,
there's actually an app that actually keeps it all on track for you. And Brett, we'll just go ahead and shut up while you hit play on that. And then there we have it, man. I love it. I love it. That production value just kind of like, I'm like, now we sound boring.
I'm glad that we played that instead of talked about it. I'm really glad we played it.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the cool thing about that is, I mean, obviously you can connect with other people, and it also, anything that you might be interested in your community. Were you watching the next video?
Yeah, I was like, oh, there's more. Continue playing.
Mike was like getting sucked into the TikTok zone.
Yeah, it happens. You guys have ADD, so it's a problem.
It's a rabbit hole.
But yeah, so the thing that I love about the app, what I love about Phoenix is once you get to this point where you've gone to Phoenix events, if you had something you did in your previous life, in your past life, like with me with tennis, I never thought I would pick up tennis again.
Sure.
And then I talked to some of the people there, and they're like, hey, you should do a tennis group.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. Like, I was so like I'll try. And they made it really easy to go through the process of getting to be a certified volunteer. They give you all the tools. If I ever need anything, I can reach out
Yeah,
to
okay,
anybody.
so you brought up a good question. Who, if somebody wants to volunteer for the Phoenix, I mean, where do they do that? Just on the website or the app, right? Okay.
Yes.
And the website is, again, thephoenix.org. And there's a Facebook page, and I think there's a bunch of Facebook pages, but there's a national page.
There's a national page, local pages. And I think the app is a great example of the Phoenix, and it's why it's hard to give you a list of activities.
Sure.
Because it's always evolving.
Oh, yeah,
and there's always new events.
And serve different populations with different activities, and like the app and all these cool things that allow us really to start to enhance that experience and make sure that we're casting a wide net, right? Like, so Michael does tennis, and it's in an area that we didn't have a tennis event before, and it's just blossomed, and I think that's the really cool thing about
How many
the
folks
Phoenix.
you got showing up now?
Man, I'm hitting – what's crazy, you were talking before the podcast, it's hitting the limit now. Like, I think the max that we have for some events, mine – particular is 15, and I think I had 14. No, I had 15.
Right.
Exactly last week, which is
Are you gonna get out there? Are you gonna get out there and start cutting people?
No, absolutely not. Well, I know that there's protocols that we do to, if an event's getting really popular, we expand it.
Sure,
we
of course.
add more, and we know, I've been doing it for a long time. So in certain events, like with the climbing event, like they have like a 30 people limit, but they always have a couple of facilitators. So really, it's just about making sure that we have a place that it's a safe and supportive environment.
Right.
Because we're that's the great thing. You can be in recovery. I have a guy that came in to my event. He'd been sober for like 11 or 12 years. Never did a step program, never did anything like that, and just found the Phoenix online and came out. So, and then I get people that are like, I literally just walked out of rehab just now, or I'm on court mandated papers right now, and I have to do everybody's welcome.
Right.
Everybody, every walk, welcome.
Yeah, no, and I love that, and I love that the only thing it's like something. Oh, hey, here's what you have to do in order to help your recovery.
Right.
Do something fun.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. Come out and have a good time.
With
I
really
love
cool people.
Absolutely.
Right? With really
Exactly.
cool people.
Exactly. By the way, I'm sporting my very, very
I'm
cool.
so fucking jealous of that
I'm
shirt.
a little pissed that I don't have
I
one.
know. I know people. I know people that don't show up to the podcast. No,
More shots fired.
Shots fired.
Steven Vega, we love you, buddy.
We love you, Steven.
We know you're a shy guy, but I will break you.
It makes me think when you wear that shirt that you're going to start a bowling league for Phoenix, which
yeah,
I
well,
would be into.
Dude,
Yes.
I was actually thinking that, dude.
That's what's so great about the Phoenix. You can morph it into whatever.
Matt, make
Basket
it happen.
weaving and bowling.
Dude,
right?
I'm in.
And then we all have to get shirts.
Okay, put your basket down. You got a bowl. It's
Your turn.
we got to wrap this game up, man.
Exactly. Well, I always like to give the guest an opportunity to give any shouts out that you want to give to people out there that you might care, or your network behind you.
Yeah.
Matt, you go first because I've been taking a lot of time.
Oh, you're all good. I was riveted by your story. It was awesome. No, just a huge shout out to the Phoenix, Texas crew here in DFW, Houston, Austin. We're a family, and so it's a privilege every day to get up and do. I mean, I guess I could call it work, but it's not work, right? It's something that is not just really important to me professionally, but it's really important to me in my personal recovery.
You're serving
right?
the greater
I'm
good.
getting to serve a community that I'm a part of. And that's a really special thing. And I get to come have fun, right? So I get to go out and climb or play tennis or do all these really cool things. So I can honestly say that I would not still be sober if I hadn't found the Phoenix.
Right.
And that's a testament to the people
And this
that
is
are
the
there.
part where you also shout out to your wife.
That's right. And my wife, who I love very
Right,
much,
right.
and my 4 kids that pushed me into that extra tax credit this year. Love y'all. And, we'll see you when I get home.
All right. Man.
So obviously, like we talked about when I mumbled earlier in the podcast, I have a podcast called Stay Sober Stupid. I've got a pretty big catalog. I think I'm at like 30 different videos right now. A lot of them are interviews that are extremely powerful. These are people that have been in recovery for a year, and some that have been in recovery for a couple of weeks. There's always some truth in all of it.
Right.
Right now we're doing the Dharma Recovery Series.
Okay.
So definitely check it out. You can go to the dharma.com or Dharma Recovery. I'll put the website out. Dharma something recovery.
Way to prep, dude. Way to prep.
Absolutely.
Look at your hand, right?
It's Dharma something. If you go to the Skate Straight website, statestraightrecovery.org, they have.
I was gonna say that
Yeah.
Skate Straight is skatestraight.org, right?
Correct. Or Skate Straight Recovery.
Skatestraightrecovery.org.
I knew that one.
Okay, good. But I was gonna say because you also do the Gentleman's Society, or you are the leader of that on Friday. Is it Fridays?
We changed it to Tuesdays because everybody's busy on a Friday.
Right.
Even in sobriety, you're like, no one's doing anything on a Friday.
Right.
Everyone's doing things on Friday.
Right.
We moved it to Tuesday nights at Alliance Skate Park in Grand Prairie at 7 p.m. It's a men's only meeting. I kind of do this cool hybrid because it's my group, I guess. We do a meditation, but then we also do smart recovery.
Okay.
So,
and then why don't you, if you want to, I mean, just kind of the things off the top of your head that they offer at Skate Straight while we're plugging.
So this is basically a peer group community that's a support system in all different aspects. We have a women's only meeting that my girlfriend Julianne runs. Shout out to my lovely girlfriend, and I love you.
Julie Bird Baker.
Julie Bird Baker. She is not baked in a while, but you know what?
Dude,
if you throw a price,
dude, she is good.
Throw her a price, she'll probably do it.
Yeah.
I love you, and I'm so sorry. As a human, I'm so sorry. Anyway, we do a meeting on Tuesday nights, which is just like a general social meeting where we have people come out. Thursdays for my boy, my man, Michael Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
We do the Dharma Recovery.
Okay.
So he actually runs a Dharma meeting. I went last night. It was great.
Right.
It's in candlelight. It's very good ambiance.
Okay.
And then Saturday we do the big meeting.
Right.
I call it the big
which
meeting.
Which is a smart recovery, cognitive CBT based meeting. But then also there is a 12-step meeting, correct?
Yes. So the 12-step meetings on
side.
Wednesdays at 4 down.
Okay.
At 7.
Okay.
And then we also have on Wednesday just a regular old meeting at Alliance. We've gotten so big now that we're doubling down like Phoenix. Right. We're actually having multiple meetings.
But there's skate straights in other cities, in other countries right now. So I love a good idea when it works. And all Kurt does is he came up with a concept.
Good idea.
And then here we go.
Yep.
And then, okay, here's your starter kit. Grow it.
Yeah. And shout out to Kurt. Shout out to all the Skate Straight people.
Right.
It's a great organization. We actually have our own yoga on Saturdays as well, early in the morning. Shout out to Stephanie, who's been a friend of the show.
Right. Stephanie is actually going to be on next week. And actually, I want to talk to you about possibly coming on because we have Miss Texas, the current Miss Texas, coming on next week. And we're going to be talking about suicide awareness and prevention. And your story was like, oh, man, I need to have him on as well.
Yeah.
So what are you doing next Friday?
I think I start my new job. But we'll talk about it after the podcast. We'll talk about it.
On the spot just a
I
little
want
bit,
you to
right?
I want you to confirm it right now. I want you to call your new job and tell him you quit.
You said no phones, Kelly. I don't have a phone during this podcast. But yeah, I'm really gracious for being able to come on to the podcast.
Well, I've wanted to have you on for a long time because you're a good dude, and we're
1% better every day.
We're all in the same boat.
That's right.
So that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Hey, be sure and if you're not on the YouTube, be sure and go and subscribe to our channel, which is thispinkcloud.com. That URL will take you to the YouTube channel because that's much easier. So thispinkcloud.com will take you there. Be sure and subscribe because we're going to have original content and all kinds of good stuff. Also, shout out to our sponsor, summersky.us, 888-857-8857. Once again, that is summersky.us, 888-857-8857. Lovely place out in Stephenville, Texas, man. It worked for me. It can work for you. But you got to want it. So that's all it is. And what we're trying to do is just inspire some hope and show you that recovery is actually fun. Because, are you having fun?
I'm having lots of fun.
Are you having fun?
A pretty good amount of fun.
Okay, I'm having fun. Brett, are you having fun?
He did a thing. He did a thing for you guys that can't see. He did a thing.
But hey, thanks for tuning in. And like I said, next week, be sure and join us for Miss Texas, the current Miss Texas, Mallory Fuller, talking suicide awareness and prevention. I mean, that's important stuff, especially coming up in the holidays and you know, when they have a tendency to spike. So, but thanks again for coming on, guys. Thank you for driving. Steven Vega owes you some gas money.
Yeah, mileage is going to be terrible next month.
Right,
so.
Exactly. Hey, but thanks for coming out. Brett, if you would, please play us out. Hey, and if y'all get a chance, be sure and go on the website. We have shirts and stickers and all that good stuff. That would be actually djkellyreverb.com/shop. But you can get all the good shirts and stuff like that. But remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.